Welcome to At the Counter with the Baking Pastor. I'm Laura. Pull up a chair. There's no rush here. This season, we're sitting with the hard days. The ones that don't resolve quickly. The ones that change us in ways we didn't ask for. Here at the counter, nothing needs to be fixed. You don't have to have the right words. You don't have to have it all figured out. You can just come as you are and stay a while. This is Hard Days at the Counter. There are moments in life when everything changes. Not because we chose it, not because we were ready, but because life unfolded in a way we never expected. And suddenly, we're left asking, what now? How do I move forward? How do I grieve what I've lost and still embrace what remains? Today's conversation is for anyone navigating change, uncertainty, loss, or a future they didn't plan for. Because sometimes courage isn't having the answers. Sometimes courage is simply taking the next step. Today at the counter, we're joined by Laura Bratton. At the age of 9, Laura was diagnosed with an eye disease and faced the reality that she would eventually become blind. Over the next 10 years, she navigated the difficult transition of losing her sight while learning how to build a life filled with purpose, resilience, faith, grit, and gratitude. Laura is the author of Harnessing Courage and the founder of UB Global, where she helps people navigate life's challenges and transitions with courage, grit, and gratitude. Laura, thank you so much for joining us at the counter today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
You were only 9 years old when you learned that you could lose your sight. What do you remember most about those early years?
The gift of being a 9-year-old was that I could not emotionally process what that meant. Obviously, I cognitively heard it and understood it, but my mindset was, well, I have perfect vision now, so this is just the way it always be. I don't know what you people are worried about. So that was the gift of being 9. And my family and I still laugh at the story. We were in Emory University in Atlanta, was the doctor that ended up seeing for the long term. And we walked out of her office. We were walking into the garage, and I still have this vivid memory. My parents have this vivid memory. My brother doesn't have a clue, but he was there. And we were walking to our car. My parents are just in shock. They've just gotten this life changing news about their child. And I looked at both of them on the way home. Can we stop at Starbucks and get a peach tea? Because, as you know, at that time, there was no Starbucks in my area, but there was in Atlanta. So I wanted to make sure we got a Starbucks peach tea before we got home. And my parents were like, we don't even know what kind of car we drive at this point, right? Like, we don't know our name. Like, we can't process all this information. While my brother's like throwing around a football in the parking garage, my parents are like, don't hit that car window. So you got this dynamic going on. And I share that real lived experience to say, I couldn't understand the full magnitude of what that meant. When I could understand on an emotional level was when I was a teenager and started to lose a very significant amount of sight. That's when that 9-year-old doctor's appointment became real, impacted me in such a deep way because it was no longer if, it was this is happening now. And the other difficult part about that diagnosis when I was 9 is so extremely rare. There was not a timeline. So they didn't say you'll be a teenager and go blind. They said maybe you'll be 40, maybe you'll be 60. There was no indication it would happen that quickly, that fast. So that was the other huge part of that difficult diagnosis of just the unknown that, oh my gosh, this is happening as a teenager. No one's prepared for this.
Well, I love that you had your priorities in order. Let's swing by Starbucks and get some peach tea,
Of
right?
course I did. I mean, that was my real lived experience. Oh, well, doctor, I'm going blind. Okay. That's exactly how I handled it as a 9-year-old.
Oh, man, I can't even imagine. So, as your vision would continue to decline, how did you begin adjusting to a future that was going to obviously be different than the one you had imagined?
So the physical adjustments were hard, making all the adaptations and all that, the what I need at school, how to label clothes, all the day-to-day functions, that was hard. It doesn't even begin to touch the emotional process.
Yeah.
The level of grief that I went through in those high school years, I can't adequately put into words because I'm grieving my vision loss. I'm grieving how easy life used to be with sight, and now it's not. I had that very real world experience of, okay, this task would take me 5 minutes 2 years ago, or a year ago, 6 months ago. Now it's taking me an hour and I need help. I was grieving my vision loss. I was also deeply grieving the normal teenage markers. And what I mean by that was I was grieving when my friends or just anyone I knew that was a teenager got their permit and then their driver's license and then their first car and then they start driving themselves to school. That's what I mean about the normal teenage markers. I didn't get to experience that.
Oh, man.
And so it was multiple levels of grief at one time. And also, the other part of the grieving that was so hard at each stage when I lost a significant amount of sight, we thought, well, maybe that's it for a while. So it's like I would grieve and then it would plateau. And then I would grieve and then it would plateau. And then I would grieve and then it would plateau. So it wasn't just this one grieving process. Okay, I grieve that I'm blind, because that's not how it happened. So it was incredibly difficult.
I am so grateful that you said that you grieved the loss of sight and that you did it multiple times, because I think there are so many people out there who mistakenly think that grief is only death
Only
when it
human.
can be 43 plus things: a loss of dreams, a loss of the life you planned, a loss of your sight, your health. Yes, loss of relationships, changing schools, not hitting those milestones. And yet people like, well, I don't understand why I'm feeling this way. Because you're grieving. I can't be. No one died. Well, grief is more than death. Your friends were driving. And so what were the things you look forward to, since you had obviously different milestones?
I have to be completely honest. At that point in high school, it was not looking forward to anything. It was literally trying to survive the day. My anxiety and panic attacks were so deep and so real and so debilitating. And the crippling depression was so difficult. There literally was nothing I was looking forward to. It was surviving the day, surviving the moment. Am I going to survive this?
And I know people talk about that getting back to normal. You just mentioned it, but sometimes there's no going back. How did
Right.
you learn to build a meaningful life within a new reality of I'm losing my sight?
So I'm so glad you phrased it that way. For me, there was no going back to normalcy. Oh, normalcy return when? I had to accept. I wrote a whole chapter about this in my book, Accepting the New Normal.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't accepting myself, my past, any of that. It was accepting, here's where I am now, and these are the resources I need, and this is the path my life is going. The way that I took that first step in adjusting and accepting that new normal was receiving support. For so long, I resisted support. I literally said to my mom, no, I don't need to see a therapist. There's nothing wrong with me. Yeah, okay. You can barely function in the world. Like, you have so many panic attacks, it's not healthy. Like, it's affecting your heart at this point. But yeah, you don't need to go see a therapist for your mental health. Right, teenager. That's a great idea. So I resisted help. I resisted support. Once I started to allow that support to actually empower me and give me the foundation, that's when I could begin accepting my new normal.
I had a little experience with the new normal. My first husband died when I was in my 30s, and I noticed really quickly that everybody was around until the funeral, and then after the funeral, everybody went back to their life, and that was the day my new normal started.
Yes.
And I tell people, I often, as a pastor, will obviously, if I'm doing the service, then I will have to be involved ahead of time. But if it's a family or friend or somebody I know, I will contact them. But I would prefer to go visit them in the after. I prefer not to send sympathy cards. I'd rather send thanking of you cards or take them a meal after all those frozen casseroles are used up, because that's when the rubber hits the road, right?
Yes.
Everybody's there for them. And
Yes.
I'm sure people were there for you, but like you said, you resisted. And I think that's normal. The way society has us, if we ask for help, we're weak or we're vulnerable or a whole host of other adjectives. But that's God made us in community. He made us to help each other with our different yokes. And if we are able to come alongside and do something that no one else can do for themselves, then why not? But I get the not wanting help. I've been there.
Because that was that was exactly my mindset. It makes me weak.
Hmm.
I didn't understand the concept of healthy interdependence. To me, it was like, I'm saying I'm going to live forever as some helpless person when I ask for help.
But it's
That,
realistic to ask for help and to receive it. And it's also, someone framed it to me a way I didn't realize. It's denying someone else a blessing to help you. And
yes,
when they said that, okay, I'm convicted. Gotcha. Gotcha.
I understand it now.
Understand? Yes, I can ask for help now. I mean, it's not my go-to. I admit I can do this. And then it's like, okay, no, I can't.
Right? It's still I'm so glad you said that. It's still a struggle, right? Like it's
It's
not something I did one time and I was like, okay, got this, check the box. Even now, you meaning just people in general, we have to learn how to be able to daily practice that.
mhm. It can be as simple as like being stubborn and holding a door for somebody, or allowing someone to hold one for you, or having someone. I'm short. I'm 5'3", so I can't always reach the top shelf of the grocery store,
Right.
and I will go seek out a tall person and say, "Can I borrow your height for a second?" And they usually look at me really strange, and then I'll point to what I want, and they laugh. I've realized, it's probably safer to not climb on the cart and climb up the shelves, just to ask. And I mean, most people, I don't think I've ever had anybody tell me no. So,
No, that is so true. And I'm so glad you said the word that you said is what I was thinking. It's stubbornness,
yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
it's stubbornness that gets in our way. My husband says to me all the time, just let me help you with this. And I'm so stubborn, like, no, I'll figure this out by myself. And he's like, Laura, I have sight. You don't. Like, I could do this in 2 seconds. And I'm like, leave me alone. I'll figure it out. And he's like, okay, when you're frustrated and giving up, like, call me. It just like, it's my stubbornness that gets in the way. And that's what I had to learn in that new normal. When the stubbornness gets in our way, like the example I was just laughing about, like when my husband says, just let me help you. It would be much better for my mental health if I just said, yes, you're right. You have sight. Please help me with this. That's not being weak, right? So there's so many times that stubbornness gets in my way.
But is it really stubbornness, or is it us getting in our own way?
It's us getting in our own way that we call Southern
Stubbornness.
stubbornness.
And I've been through situations where I've had to depend on my husband to help with things. And yes, it would be way easier for him to do it, but it doesn't take away the fact that I still at least want to try and do it.
Right.
Yes, you may can do it easier. Yes, you may can see it, or you can reach it, or you can lift it. That's fine. But let me at least try it before you take it away from me. At
Yeah.
least ask before you usurp. I chuckle. When I was a special need teacher, I had a few students who used wheelchairs for mobility, and I would see their paras put their coats and their bags and all this stuff on the back of the wheelchair. And I'm like, what are you doing? That's an extension of their body.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's horrible.
Would you pile your coats on that person? And they're like, but it's a chair. I'm like, no, it is their mobility
It is
device.
not a chair. It's their walking device.
Yeah, and so they'd be like, "Okay," and I know they're thinking, "Wow, she's kinda got a little witchy today," but I was like, "Give that
She
person
didn't
a
sleep good last
chance."
night.
Yeah, no, I did, and you're on my last nerve piling all this stuff on this person. Just cracks me up, just cracks me up.
That is so true.
So, life can change dramatically, and when it does, oftentimes people will ask, "Who am I now?" Was that a
Yes.
question that you wrestled with during the beginning season of this?
Oh, 1000%. Because here's what I wrestled with. I wrestled with the fact that, and again, this is no one like said this to me or whatever. This was just kind of, I just absorbed this. This was just in my environment. I'm not worthy because I can't see. I
Mm.
was forgetting all the other things I could do. I was forgetting all my other strengths, gifts, meaning, purpose. I was only focused on what I couldn't do. And so I would say, all right, so now that I don't have sight, who in the world am I? Is it even worth me being here? Because again, I was only focused on what I had lost, not the other parts of me that were valuable and had gifts and meaning and purpose. So that, just like the new normal, was a process, a very slow process of me realizing, well, that's kind of strange. That person over there thinks I have gifts. That person over there doesn't really care if I can see or not see. They're still calling me friend, right? So it was through, that's what I mean by that support. Others around me modeling through their actions that I had meaning, that I had purpose, that taught me if they believe that, maybe I can start to believe that too. So again, I don't want to paint the picture there was some magical neon sign that I woke up one day and was like, hey, world. I went from not knowing who I am to knowing exactly who I am, being covered in my own skin. It was a very slow, painful process. And it all started by the support around me.
Thank you for mentioning your worth or your value, because I think there are so many people who are struggling with a variety of things. A lot of the folks I work with are dealing with trauma, abuse, or the loss, and they doubt their worth because of what they are not
Right.
producing. Like,
Right.
I
Right.
love equals I am doing this ugly deed for you. Or if I don't please you, then I am not loved. And
Yes.
I struggle because I want to say, no, you are you and you are valuable. You have worth. You have different talents. Thank goodness the Lord made us all do different things so we could complement each other. But that worth and value, when that's not there, that is one of the hardest things I think for people to overcome.
To overcome. And it's such a process.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not a like light bulb neon sign moment. It's an everyday process that we have to believe in a trust in ourselves,
Mhm.
even years and years later after the adversity. And
Yeah.
that's too what I found in the, obviously in my own life as I shared, but in the people I work with, we tend to get so hyper focused on the adversity, the loss, the trauma,
Mhm.
that we don't acknowledge the good that's within us, the gifts within us. It like all that just magically evaporates. And all we can focus on is the loss and the trauma. And so that makes us say we're not worthy.
Absolutely. And I think we all need a good dose of confidence as we start taking those
Yes.
first steps, those next
Oh,
steps.
yes.
Do you
Yes.
think in your process that courage came first, or did courage grow because you kept taking steps?
Courage absolutely grew because I kept taking steps. And I want to circle back. I love, love, love how in the very beginning of this conversation, you talked about before you even introduced me, you talked about courage sometimes looks like just taking one step at a time. And
Mhm.
for me, that was my lived experience. It was not, I have courage. I'm going to move forward. I have a plan. My goal today is to get up and get breakfast and get to school on time. That's the accomplishment for the day. Just get through first class, and then we'll figure out how to get through second class and lunch and all that stuff later. So it was literally taking it hour by hour. That built courage. The hour became a day. The day became a couple days. The couple days became a week. So that developed the muscle of courage.
And what's interesting to me is people come to me with their various adversities, and it's like they want a magic pill. They want to completely heal
Yeah.
and fix whatever today.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, this didn't happen to you overnight. I mean, obviously, if someone died in a horrific accident or something, that could. But for the most part, this took time to get you here. It's okay to take itty bitty, teeny weeny baby steps because they all add together on
Yeah.
forward progress.
And that was the source of my overwhelm, my panic in those initial years, because that was my focus. Okay, I'm blind. Okay, now how are we going to live as a 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old? That was my problem. That's what got me stuck in that panic attack loop, was I was not focused on the moment. I was focused on getting to the end of the story. I'm well adapted. I'm well adjusted. Blah, blah, blah. It's like it's no big deal. So I'm so thankful you said that, because that kept me stuck in panic and depression.
Mhm,
And what really, really helped me in that process and helped break that cycle was my parents reminding me every single day, Laura, all we need to do is take it moment by moment by moment.
mhm.
Yes, the future's overwhelming. Yes, it's uncertain. Yes, we don't know people who've lost their sight and are now totally blind. All we have to do is take it moment by moment by moment. So having that said to me over and over and over and modeled for years, that's how I learned to break that cycle of panic attacks. And my just a short, quick story to model that, to give an example for people. My parents laugh about it now, but in those high school days, when I was in high school, people, I mean, countless people, people in church, people in our neighborhood, everybody, people at my parents' work, everybody would say, all right, what's y'all's plan? Okay, how are you going to get through this? What is the plan? What is the goal? Okay, what's going to be like the final outcome of this? Like, how are you going to like adapt her and teach her braille and teach her computer software and do all the things and blah blah blah. And my parents would just shake their head and say, we just got to get through Wednesday morning,
Yeah.
and then we'll figure out Wednesday afternoon. And nobody took them seriously. Even counselors, even therapists were like, you aren't treating this healthy, you aren't acknowledging what's going on. And their response was, we are acknowledging what's going on, and it's so big, there's not an A to Z outcome. We have to go A, B, C, D, right? Like we got to go through the process. So I just share that to say to anyone listening who either is going through a loss or grief or supporting someone going through a loss or grief, note that taking it moment by moment, day by day, is more than enough. And do not let yourself be under the pressure of we have to have it all figured out and mapped out tomorrow.
Because realistically, you're gonna miss something if you try
Right.
and map it all out tomorrow. But I think it's also kind of countercultural, right? Everybody now, of course, we've heard the grief talks that, "Oh, you're coming up on a year, you should be fine. No, there is no timeline on grief." Or, why are you still so mopey or cry? Well, can't you buck up, buttercup, and get over it? Well, obviously not if I'm here moping.
Right.
We don't know how to help people grieve or walk
Yes.
through it. And that goes for people, just individuals, that goes for pastors,
Mhm.
sadly. They don't get it. And that goes for people who are, I'm air quoting folks, helping, trying to help. Our culture doesn't know how to pause and slow down. They want
Yeah.
to get to the end result now,
Yes.
whether that's healthy or not to go that way. And I love that your parents are like, no, 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 no. We need A and then B. No, we're not going to skip to D. We're going to hit C
Right.
and we're going to keep going through it logically because that's how we need to deal with it. Everybody deals with their own situation.
Yeah.
And if they need to be allowed to and told that it's okay. Some people are going to want a better, faster outcome and they're willing to do a ton more work. Some are barely holding on to the edge of the ledge. And if they can just hold on one more day,
Yes.
we're good. We're
We're
good.
good. Right.
So I love your title was Harnessing Courage. How would you define courage today? And has your definition changed over the years?
So first I want to explain why harnessing courage, and then I'll absolutely say how I define it and how my just definition of courage has changed. The reason that I titled it Harnessing Courage was very specific, very deliberate. So I've had two guide dogs, two female black labs. My first one I got starting college, and I had her for about 11 years. And then my second one, I had about another 10 or 12 years, and she died 2 years ago. So my second guide dog was alive when I was writing this book. So in honor and respect for the gift they each gave me, the gift of vision, the gift of unconditional love, the gift of just their presence, I wanted to honor them and just thank them. So the harness is the leather strap that goes around the dog. And then the handle of the harness is what the person who's blind holds, and you walk forward as a guide dog team. So again, in respect and deep, deep gratitude for each of those dogs, I named it Harnessing Courage because it took intense courage for me to pick up that harness and trust these they were each about 60-pound black labs. Like, are you really going to be my eyes? Can I do this? And then also it took courage for them to trust me as the person, as the human, to provide, to take care of them. So I share that to say, yes, my definition of courage has drastically changed. Because when I first got my first guide dog and picked up that harness, to me, courage was, all right, let's go conquer the world, have no more anxiety, no more depression, never have a bad day, sweep all your emotions under the rug, act strong, act positive, and we're going to move this world as a team. Well, that lasted about 30 seconds, if that long. What I realize courage is exactly what you said. It's taking it step by step by step. And once I do 4 steps, then I realize I can do 8 steps of courage. Once I do a day of courage, I realize I can do 2 days of courage. So it's slowly building on those moments of courage at a time. And that courage looks like acknowledging and validating my pain and then still choosing to move forward. So it's not courage like I never have anxiety again. It's courage like when I'm having deep anxiety, go in the bathroom, close the door, bawl my eyes out for 5 minutes, splash my face off, drink some water, and keep going with my day. So courage is not the absence of pain or the absence of difficulty, or it's not this supernatural human level of strength. It's choosing strength within the difficult moments, within the joys of life, within the mundane moments of life.
I love that. Let's take a moment and take a slow breath in and let it out. And listeners, ask yourself, what part of my life has changed that I'm still learning to adapt to? And what would it look like to trust myself with the next step? I know you often use the word grit. What does grit actually look like in everyday life, especially if someone feels exhausted?
So let's use that example of exhaustion. When I am just emotionally, mentally exhausted, the grit for me looks like acknowledging that exhaustion, validating that exhaustion, also acknowledging, yes, most people in this situation would be absolutely exhausted by trying to live every single day in a world that's fully sighted, and you're not. So validating that emotion and then choosing my response to that exhaustion. And so for me, the grit looks like choosing, picking up the phone, calling my best friend, and just venting, whether that's tears, whether that's anger, whether that's resentment. Sometimes it just looks like, okay, tell me about your day. I'm exhausted. I don't have the energy to tell you about my day. I want to hear about your day. Or the grit looks like, okay, I'm exhausted. And so I'll go to bed very early tonight, even though my type A personality wants to say, get more done in the day. So, well, Southern type A, I better say, right?
Yep.
Add full context to it and get 12 more things done, right? So the grit looks like acknowledging the feeling and then choosing to respond to it in a healthy, mindful, present way.
Thank you for grit, because I think there's a lot of folks who are dealing with that, whatever their situation is, and they want to stay up and get the extra gazillion things done, but realistically, they know they're just flat out exhausted and they better not. I think a harder topic is gratitude. I've heard you mention gratitude a few times. Can you share how that became part of your journey?
So, gratitude, again, I want to set the context. Growing up in the deep South, this was so when I was in high school, it was late 90s, graduated early 2000s. Gratitude for me was a way to cover up the pain, just be super positive and happy and pray more and read more scripture and say God is good all the time. And then that takes away my pain. That takes away slash covers up my pain. That made me more anxious. That made my panic attacks worse. That made my depression worse. So I'm sitting around thinking, well, I tried this gratitude thing. It's making me more anxious, more depressed. What am I doing wrong? So I just kind of was like, okay, I'm not going to do the gratitude thing anymore. It doesn't work for me. Then one day a mentor said to me, Laura, I want you to adopt and start living with a mindset of gratitude. And every day, at the end of the day, I want you to write down 3 things that you're grateful for from that day. People, situations, something from that day that you're grateful for. Again, being from the deep South, you don't, at that time, you didn't challenge a mentor. You just said, okay, thank you, and smiled. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, that's terrible. Like, absolutely not. Like, do you not know I'm grieving? Do you not know I'm anxious? Do you not know I'm depressed? Like, I tried this positive gratitude thing and it made me more anxious. Like, that's some good advice, mentor. In my stubbornness, I said, okay, I'm going to prove to her this is a very bad idea. And I'm literally going to hand her a sheet that's absolutely blank that has nothing on it and show her this is what I'm grateful for. So the one day became 3 days. The 3 days became a week. A week became a lifestyle that I live every single day. And what I realized is that she was not teaching me the gratitude that I was using. Cover up your pain. Oh, be thankful for your blindness. She was teaching me to have the mindset of focusing on what I appreciate, what I am grateful for in the midst of all of life. So, a real world practical example is she was not asking me, at the end of the day, I want you to say you're grateful for your blindness. She was asking me to say, I am so deeply grateful that I have a guide dog that helps me navigate the world. I am so grateful for teachers that make accommodations so that I can take my test on the computer rather than a written printed copy. So she wanted me to reframe my thought process. So again, it wasn't a way to minimize, dismiss the pain. It was to say, what do I have in the midst of my pain?
I'm so glad you said it like that because I have people all the time say, gratitude, you keep a gratitude list? Well, that sounds nice, but you don't understand what I'm carrying.
And I literally said that to her. Yeah, you don't understand my pain. There's no way gratitude can help me.
In your book, you shared descriptions of people becoming life jackets during difficult seasons. Who were some of the life jackets in your story?
So, the first instant life jacket that I want to share, of course, I'll share others, but I have to share this one because I want people to hear from my experience. Those life jacket moments are not always what we expect and what we think are the life jacket moments. So, what I mean by that, a huge life jacket moment for me was my older brother. I have one older brother who's 5 years older. As I was going through this major vision loss, he just continued to treat me like that annoying little baby sister that would never leave him alone and never be quiet and interrupted him in every moment of life, no matter what he was doing. He just would hope, would you just go away for 30 seconds? At the time, I was like, you're such a mean brother. You're not like babying me and cuddling me, and you're not feeling sorry for me because I can't see. What I realized in hindsight, that was a huge life jacket moment because it taught me I'm still me. And that was a healing life jacket I cannot put into words. And I'm so deeply grateful for that. Just that normalcy that when all else in my world was changing, that was still normal. I was still that annoying little baby sister that he was like, would you just please go to a friend's house for an hour? Like, just leave me alone. So I say that to say that doesn't seem like it would be support in a life track moment in the midst of major trauma. Yet it was. I just invite everyone listening to recognize those moments of support that we wouldn't automatically think are support. It's not our pastor, it's not our therapist. We instantly look at those as support, but what are those other moments of everyday life that is a deep supporting action in the midst of loss, in the midst of adversity?
And thank goodness for people who treated you normal and allowed you to continue to still live in that situation.
Yes. Yes.
I suspect as your sight decreased, you maybe doubted trusting yourself and your ability to do things. What did you learn about that?
What it looked like specifically for me was I can't. This is too overwhelming. This is too much. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. What I learned about myself was that I absolutely could, focusing on the individual moment, not focusing on, okay, I'm 20 now. What's life going to be like when I'm 40? Not trying to figure all the next 20 years out in 2 minutes in a night before I go to bed that night, but literally learning about myself when I take it day by day, hour by hour, and those hours build on themselves. I do have the strength to adapt and navigate forward.
Mm. And that adaptation is something we all need to learn and be flexible with. Your situation through life is going to change. You can stay rigid if you choose to. It's going to make it way hard. Or you can just be and roll with whatever it is.
Yes.
We were on a trip to Pennsylvania to see our niece graduate, and a huge storm came through, and the hotel lost power. And we went out and did some sightseeing and some thrifting and antiquing, and we came back. It was still slated to be out for another couple hours. And then the manager finally said, quite honestly, I don't think it's going to come back on tonight. I looked at my husband. I said, okay, here's the deal. We can't open our windows. We can't leave our door open in the middle of the night. That would just be weird. And there's going to be no hot water. Does this make sense to stay? And he looked at me, no, not really. I said, okay, here's what I'm thinking. What if we pack up our stuff and we drive the hour and 40 minutes from Puxaltani, where the groundhog does his thing, to Pittsburgh, and we watch our niece graduate, and then we get on the road and head back towards my parents in Tennessee. And he's like, are we going to stop? And I said, well, let's just see how things go. I said, I'm going to lay clothes out because I don't want to drive in a dress all night. That's not going to be comfortable. He laughed. So we finished the graduation. We had a very sad niece. She understood, though. We left them a gift card and some money. They could still go to dinner. And we hopped on the road. And it became one of the most fun trips we've ever taken together in the last 10 years. We laughed. We joked. We heard every genre of music you can think of. We were telling jokes, telling stories, laughing our heads off. We did stop and change, or I did, and got fuel, got what we thought was going to be the right dinner. But it didn't turn out to be what I had ordered, but it was still okay. Instead of getting like an appetizer sampler, I ended up with like a gazillion chicken nuggets. They were really good. I was like, well, where's the cheese? And Todd's like, I don't know. But we ended up rolling into Greenville, Tennessee at 3 a.m. And we were glad we did it because at that point it was like, well, where would we stop? And we started looking on the map, and then we'd go by these hotels. We could see them and they were packed.
Yep.
And he's like, the heck with it. We're not that far. Let's just go ahead. But how many people could be in that same situation, get angry, get pissed off, get annoyed, have
Frustrated.
a fit, get frustrated, and then start driving from hotel to hotel to hotel until the next thing you're back at your location? And how many people have they gotten pissed off with? And it was okay. We're good. We slept for 5 hours, got up. We were definitely dragging. There's no lie on that. We were dragging like a snail, but we were home. We were safe. Gave us more time with my parents. But it was so funny because I told a couple people and they're like, You drove all the way through? You didn't kill each other? No. We had a really good time. We were
We
telling
actually laughed.
we laughed, we were telling dad jokes and just having a blast. But I think we had built a relationship that could handle the flexibility. And I
Yeah.
wish more people had the flexibility in a relationship, but also with themselves. Your outcome, you may want it to be this, but realistically, it might be this.
Not.
And it's okay. And I
And
think
what you're showing in that example is we have control over our response.
we do.
So you and your husband did not have control that the hotel lost power.
Mm-mm.
Yet you controlled, okay, how do we respond to this? And let's just make the best of it.
Yeah. And
That's
we
the
heard
gift.
people down at the front desk, because again, we had the doors open. We heard people cussing and fussing out the front desk people. And I think that's honestly why GM came over. People were fussing. I'm sure a hotel would purposely pull the plug just to aggravate you, sweetheart, right? And then I got an email Monday morning that said, "Would you rate your stay?" And I thought of all those poor people who are probably going to rank them really bad. And
Yeah.
I was like, no, I appreciated, they were nice, they were diligent, it was all good, but it was beyond their control.
Yeah.
I love that. But I like you said choices, because people tell me, well, I'm not making a choice. And I say, yes, you are. Your lack of choice is a choice.
Yeah,
That means you're
100%.
choosing not to do something versus do it. And you can live your life like that, groundhog hidden, or you can get up and make a different choice.
Make a
So,
different choice. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that example because that's so real world.
yeah, it is. And how many people would have been upset? I mean, we were going through construction zones in multiple states that, quite honestly, were not functioning, but yet had the blinky lights, and we still had to slow down. It just became, we just go, again. And we
Here
just
we
start
are.
laughing, and we were counting all the blinky signs. I mean, it was hysterical. Plus, we were playing the license plate game, right?
Oh,
Which is
yeah.
even harder in the dark.
That's fun. That's fun.
That's fun. So through this, I know faith had to be huge for you. Did your relationship with God evolve through all these transitions?
It absolutely evolved from faith as just something you participate in to it evolved to this is actually a real personal spiritual connection I can depend on. So, what I mean by that, it started in a place of you go to church Sunday mornings. Church is the social gathering. Church is just everyone in your neighborhood does. Like you don't say, "Are you a Christian?" You say, "Are you Methodist, Baptist, Presbyterian, Lutheran, or Catholic?" Right? That's the conversation. What it evolved to was the spiritual connection that allowed me to depend on that spiritual connection, knowing that I'm valuable, knowing that that spirit views me as whole, as a beloved creation, as enough. The spirit is not like, well, you don't have sight. Sorry, you're out of my reach. Like you're not good enough anymore. But rather tapping into that presence, that unconditional love of the spirit to support me, to say, this is really, really hard. Like, I need strength getting through this class and whatever situation, grade, academic, career. So it became something I did, a social event, to a deep spiritual connection where I value the gift of spirituality.
I went through a cancer diagnosis, and I learned to worship in the wait, because you could wait and you can get mad and blame, how did I end up with this horrible health problem? Or you can worship where you are and grow that relationship with the Lord even better. I tell people he's my best friend. I talk to him all through the day. I know I have him laughing multiple times a day just because I have to be one of his silly sheep, right? So I'm cool with that.
You're fine. You've accepted that, right?
Yeah, I'm cool. I'll do something and I'll just look up. I'm like, yeah, I know you're laughing. It's okay.
You can laugh it.
I laugh at myself frequently. I know many listeners are going to be navigating changes that they never expected. Maybe a diagnosis, a loss, a transition, maybe a dream that didn't unfold the way they hoped. What helped you begin moving forward when you didn't have everything figured out?
What helped me to begin to move forward is validating the pain of my situation. What I mean by that, why that helped me move forward, is because of what we talked about earlier when we said, you talk about people you've worked with, and I talked about from my own experience. I want to go from A to Z, right? Bonds happen, and I want the answer overnight on how to adapt, how to adjust, how to move forward, how to be comfortable in my own skin. I want it all done like I realized that when I stopped to validate, yes, of course you're feeling anxious. You just became blind. Like, yes, that makes total sense that you're depressed. You just lost one of your major senses. Once I could give myself permission to validate how I was feeling, that then gave me power to figure out how I was going to respond to it. What did not help me was when I went, okay, now I've lost much of sight. How's the rest of my life going to go? When I jumped to the conclusion, I got stuck. When I allowed myself to feel the pain, acknowledge the pain, validate the pain, that gave me the power to move forward.
And I think we do need to validate the situations we're going through, not expect to rush through, not expect any certain outcome, because we don't know. That will depend on us as we go through the alphabet and hit that next step. So if someone listening today feels overwhelmed by uncertainty and afraid of what's ahead, what would you want them to know?
Ask for support, lean on your support. You are not a weak human. It doesn't say anything about your character. It's not a mark against your character. Lean on support. And that support can look like a pet. That support can look like drawing, art, journaling, being in nature. That support can look like one family member or one friend you trust. It doesn't have to be this huge army of support. It's just vital that we depend on support.
I agree. If this conversation has resonated with you, you can connect with Laura and learn more about her and her book, Harnessing Courage, at her website, laurabratton.com. Don't worry, I'll put the link in the show notes. Through her work, she helps individuals navigate the gratitude. Thank you so much for joining me at the counter today.
Absolutely my honor. And thank you for the gift of just this healing conversation.
You are most welcome. Most of us spend a lot of time waiting until we're ready, waiting until we're certain, waiting until we're no longer afraid. But life rarely works out that way. Sometimes we move forward while still grieving. Sometimes we move forward while still learning. Sometimes we move forward without having everything figured out. And maybe that's what courage is all about. My friends, hear this blessing. May you find courage for the next step, even if you cannot see the whole path. May you discover gratitude in places you never expected. And may you trust that uncertainty does not mean God abandoned you. May you know that you do not have to have everything figured out to keep moving forward. Until next time, pull up a chair. Thank you for sitting at the counter with me today. If something in this conversation stayed with you, you might want to carry it gently into your day. No need to rush past it. And if you need a place to pause, reflect, or simply breathe, you can find more at bakingpastor.com. Until next time, take a breath, notice what's in front of you, and remember, you're always welcome here at the counter.